And the Sydney Morning Herald has a story on the world's biggest one-day election in Indonesia and why it matters. Though not compelled to cast a ballot, citizens are expected to turn out at close to 80%.
And for more on that story and some others making headlines today, author and former diplomat Kemish joins us now from Brisbane. Welcome to the program.
Morning to you both.
Let's start with that report and significant reporting about the Indonesian election, where we know that as many as 200 million people could be going to the polls this week.
Yeah, almost a million polling centres across thousands of islands for thousands of positions. It's the position that of president that we know about and that where the main focus is for those of us here in Australia. And of course, attention in Australia should be focused on an election there in Indonesia, one of our closest neighbours, the fourth largest country in the world, something like 270 million people. And it's been 10 years now where we've been used to having President Joko Widodo, or Jokowi as we know him, in the position of president. He has to stand down. It's the end of the second term, and there's a two-term mandate in Indonesia, as there is in places like the United States. And the country feels very different now. And frankly, Jokowi looks quite different now to how he did 10 years ago. He came to international attention as, a furniture maker from Solo, a figure who was avowedly not of the establishment, offering a fresh approach. As he stands down, he's giving not so subtle support to his former adversary, Prabowo Subianto, who is a former and somewhat controversial head of the Indonesian Special Forces. And indeed, Jokowi's own son is standing up to be his vice president. So we sort of look like we're positioning for some kind of dynastic succession, rather, in our closest neighbour.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ian, because this Herald article really unpacks why it matters to Australia, not just for the obvious reasons, because, there could be a number of different directions that it could take as a result of this, some democratic as this article outlines, and others much more autocratic.
Yeah, there are concerns that this might be a fork in the road for Indonesia. I think seasoned observers are less sure about that. I think the smart money, if you like, is on the possibility that Prabowo, if he emerges as president, which seems very, very likely, will, like his predecessors, oversee a coalition of forces within the parliament and will need to steer a middle road and may not represent as significant a departure as some fear. But who knows, really? We'll have to see how things progress. What I do think is we're seeing a new kind of establishment in Indonesia. This is not a fresh look for the country. This appears to be a new establishment and a new continuity of sorts.
Ian, let's turn to the elections in Pakistan and the reporting in The Independent, particularly this bit that the UK and EU have expressed concerns about the electoral process. And this comes, as we've seen, leaders of both major parties, Imran Khan in jail, of course, claiming victory of sorts.
Yep, another massive country, another country of importance to Australia, and quite extraordinary scenes unfolding here. As you say, we've had independent candidates backed by Imran Khan, who is in jail for, under a 10-year sentence, sweeping the polls effectively, not a full majority, but certainly more seats than any other party, and almost within striking distance of being able to form a government. And of course, his party itself was banned from participating. So with his independent but Khan-backed candidates having such a great result, his party is claiming victory, or certainly claiming the right to be the first to form government. Now, the party has not been able to participate, as I say. The party has resorted to artificial intelligence to project Khan out there in the public. There have been press conferences and speeches generated by AI, having Imran speaking to his people and to his supporters. These are the sorts of things that people have had to resort to. And absolutely, the EU, the UK, the United States have all expressed very, very serious concern about the constraints that were put on democracy around the running of this election.
India, no doubt, watching it closely as well as those broader implications for the region will play out. Keeping with the election theme, Ian, there are 3 by-elections this week in the UK. The Observer is looking this, and obviously later this year there is expected to hold a general election. But the headline here, Senior Conservative says party has descended into death spiral. Is this the beginning of the end for Rishi Sunak?
Well, never say never, of course, but the Labor Party has an 18-point lead in the UK, and that election, which has to take place between now and the end of this year, looks at this point, at least, almost like a foregone conclusion. And this article we're talking about reflects concern amongst Conservative loyalists that the party has already given up the ghost, that its approach to these by-elections has been, so limp, almost rolling their arm over. And of course, these are largely electorates where Conservatives have been, the MPs, and Labor seems likely to win. And this will, if expectations are met, send even more panic and more concern through the Conservative ranks.
Well, we'll be watching that one very closely. Ian Kemish, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.